Okay, looks like we got Facebook set up. There's always a slight delay getting that rolling. So welcome in for that. I'm checking my tablet to make sure we are all online and in play and ready to go for another big week. You know how it goes. Yeah, there we are. Here we go. Just stepped on my shoelaces, untied my own shoe. What an auspicious way to get the program started. I gotta shorten up the laces on these shoes. I keep doing that. Well, would you look at your arms from your push-up challenge? I just have the sleeves rolled up. But yeah, you know what, guys? Some of you guys know about all the other stuff I got going on. And it's good that you're here. Thank you for joining in. Welcome, everybody. Good morning, Mike from Daytona State. Cleveland checking in. All right, everybody's in the house here. Good morning. May the 4th. It is the day before the universe collides with Cinco de Mayo and Taco Tuesday. My daughter-in-law, a huge taco fan, was expressing last night on the family Zoom call that this would have been the first year in which Cinco de Mayo and Taco Tuesday fell on the same date when she was over the age of 21 and able to hit the margaritas hard. So she's a little disappointed. She'll do her own Cinco de Mayo / Taco Tuesday celebration at her home with her husband, my son, and they'll get through it. But that was a little disappointing for her this year out with the coronavirus situation. So we get a big week. We get a lot going on. I want to jump into a lot of exciting stuff. 9 o'clock today. This is it. The mullet class. This is a haircut technique that I demoed at the International Salon and Spa Expo in Long Beach, California in January, which feels like forever ago and wasn't all that long ago. But it's a fun little demo. It's a fun little haircut, and I am going to share a very classic approach to cutting this mullet. And we'll talk about some modern adaptations to it. But coming out of coronavirus, if you weren't cutting a lot of them before, boy, we're going to be cutting a lot of mullets on a lot of customers because they've got the hair to do it. They've been able to grow in some back and some top to be able to facilitate the look. It's going to be a big deal. I did get a haircut over the weekend, had an exciting, fun weekend. The weather in Chicago this weekend was beautiful. So my son cut my hair. Not a cosmetologist, but with a little bit of coaching from somebody who kind of knows how to cut a flat top, he did pretty good. This one came out all right. It's not exactly perfectly balanced, but it's really damn close. So I'm happy to have it, and kudos to him for that. 11 o'clock is referrals. Probably one of the most important business classes that I share because it is important for you if you're brand new in the business. Your ability to build business based on referrals, fundamental to your success in the business. And then, if you're not new to the business, when we go back, you're kind of new because you're going to be building. Certainly, you're going to be experiencing business in a different way that's going to require you to respond in a different way and is going to require you to build business in a very different way. So we will dig deep on that. Big shout outs, thank yous. Here we are again. Sponsors this week, of course, my friends at Barbicide. By now, if you're not Barbicide certified, you're late to the game. And I'm kind of nervous here, praying this is not 90s Billy Ray. We pay homage to 90s Billy Ray, but we'll get there. Back to work plan and reopening recommendations from Barbicide right here. Free downloads online, barbicide.com, and on my links in my Instagram if you're not there yet and already. Next up, Jatai. We're going to be featuring freestyle hair cutting razors, both with the standard and the R-type rapid cutting blade as part of our mullet cutting demo. I think there's a couple of reasons why, and I'll get into it in the technical. Using a razor as part of your mullet cutting, I think, is extremely important. So we'll get into that. JataiAcademy.net, you should be a subscriber, and go to my links on my Instagram to download and sign up for your Jatai coupon for your big discount for online shopping with our friends at Jatai. You guys know how this works by now with Zoom. Chat is open, mics are muted. Last 10 minutes is going to be Q&A. Facebook up here, I've got a tablet so I can be monitoring comments and participation and contribution on the Facebook side of the equation. I want to float a question. Listen up, guys. I want to ask this question. There's about 60 of you, almost, on Zoom, and about half as many right now and building over on Facebook. I want to ask a question, and you can answer in chat here, or you can send me an email, or you can reach out to me as a direct message on any form of social media. But as I'm continuing to develop the process and the program that is these live broadcasts and these free classes online, I want to continue to improve them. I want to continue to enhance them. I want to continue to deliver what people want from this programming. My question is this, and I'm curious to know, how would you guys feel about not having the Zoom link if this was only posted through Facebook Live? I'm not saying that I'm doing that. I'm saying that I'm asking the question. What would your thoughts be if we dropped the Zoom link in favor of just posting this through? Because we're reaching, quite honestly, guys, you know, we're capped at 100 here in Zoom, and one of my thoughts is I get 3,000 views on the Facebook. Do we need the Zoom? Looks like overwhelmingly there's a lot of people digging and loving the Zoom. So I appreciate it. Of course, those are the comments coming from the people on Zoom. We'll see what happens with some comments on Facebook. It's not going away. Don't worry. It's not going away. Don't worry. I know specifically I get distracted on Facebook, Jenna. Yeah, I think that is a real issue. Okay, guys, I don't want to freak anybody out, but I had to ask. Just want to get feedback. It's part of me helping do this for you, so we're good. I just wanted to know what the thoughts were. All right, let's move on. Don't lose your mind over there. $100,000 hair cutter. We start every day with $100,000 hair cutter. Today is day before Cinco de Mayo, May 4. Turning to the book, May 4. We talked about this the other day when somebody pulled May 4 as an extra date. Lisa, you know that's my birthday, right? All right. May 4, the December date, not the May 4. Day 124, 241 days remaining in the year. Know what no means. And this is not related to the Me Too movement or anything like that. But know what no means talks about the idea that when a customer says no, what they're really saying is not yet. They're not saying no, they're saying not yet. They're saying you haven't given me enough information to make me ready to make that purchase. Whether it's a recommendation of a service or a product or anything. No means not yet. You haven't done your job yet. I need more from you. Come on. Come on, keep giving me. So as a salesperson, you know, there's an old saying that says sales begins when the customer says no. Sales doesn't begin when you make your pitch or when you get a yes. That's not even sales. That's a gimme. That's a laydown. That's too easy. Sales begins when the customer says no. All right, I need another date. Who's got a date that we can read? Let's go up here a little bit, see who's the first person to throw out a date. Looks like Nikila, it was May 26. We're going to read that in a few days anyways, but we'll go there. May 26, center to sides. May 26th, day 146, 219 days remaining in the year. Center to sides. Block nape lines working from the center out to both sides. I'm going to show you what this is rather than tell you what this is. This is a good basic standard. Everybody say hello to Mullet Guy. This is the mannequin from Long Beach. He's kind of the model for what we'll talk about. But when we talk about center to sides, when trimming necklines, what we're talking about is you get your trimmer, you get your detailing and finishing comb, and when you're blocking, when you're working across the neckline, what you don't want to do is work like this. You don't want to work from left to right, and you don't want to work from right to left. It's like cutting a bob. You want to start in the middle and expand your way out both sides, center to sides, starting in the center and expanding out to both sides. That helps with balance and symmetry because we tend to be biologically, biomechanically, physiologically right-hand biased. We tend to drop to the right like that, which tends to leave necklines crooked. But if we start in the middle and we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, center, right, left, left, right, right, left, we tend to disperse that from both sides towards the middle, and we tend to get our necklines, when blocked, more even balanced and symmetrical. So that was the tip for the second day. That's an example. And again, what we saw with $100,000 hair cutter, the first tip we read today was very clearly, very specifically a sales and marketing tip. And the second tip we saw today was very specifically technical cutting, getting down to the little pieces of technical. So, you don't have a book yet? What are you waiting for? $100,000 hair cutter, ivanzoot.com, or you can go to Amazon, paper, digital, audio, one idea a day, every single day, 365 days to build and grow your business. All right, guys. I'll follow. Roger, thank you very much, buddy. I appreciate that. I don't want to let you think I didn't see that comment. Thank you. All right, so mullet cutting. Let's talk about what is a mullet before we actually get into cutting the mullet, because I think there's a lot of misunderstandings about definition. And when we define a mullet, I want to also clarify this issue because, you know, I get a little outspoken. I get a little verbal. I get a little hostile even, occasionally with haircuts on the web, because there are so many hair cutters out there that do not know, do not understand, and do not respect our history. What I mean by that is, maybe some of you, and I want to see a thumb from some of you if you know what I'm talking about here. Is there anybody here, or is it just me? Am I the only one who gets pissed off when people post pictures of haircuts and call them pixies, but they're not pixies? These undercut little haircuts on women, they're cute, they're adorable, they're modern, they're totally cool, they're really excellent haircuts. But is there anybody besides me that gets upset when it's not a pixie and they're calling it a pixie? If it's not a pixie, it's not a pixie. It might be a modern, undercut, short haircut. It might be really cute. It might be really fun. It might look awesome on that girl with great bone structure. You know, fine, great. But it's not a pixie. Stop calling it a pixie. All right, I'm glad I'm not alone. Now, a mullet. A lot of the haircuts we're seeing now are absolutely modern interpretations of a classic mullet style. And you guys might have seen, I posted it on Instagram, the David Spade Joe Dirt mullet this morning. What a classic mullet look. And absolutely comically exaggerated. It's paying homage to the mullet. It's accepting, acknowledging, recognizing, and having some hilarity with the mullet. But it's a mullet. Some of these haircuts where the sides are buzzed and underneath the back here is buzzed, those are still mullets. And here's the difference. It's not that pixie argument that I have. The basic idea behind a mullet is what I call 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It's a 3-length progression. Every mullet fits in this bucket. Now, you know me from other classes and other presentations. Ivan has always said, no always, no never. No always, no never. No always, no never. Here we go, guys. Always and never. A mullet will always be shortest at the side, longer at the top, and longest at the back. 1, 2, 3. Shortest, short, longest. Longest, shorter, even shorter. Shortest, a little bit more, little bit more. Always sides, top, and back. Back, top, and sides. Everybody got that? That's the basic construction of a mullet. I believe in mullet land. And when I did this in Long Beach, if you go back to my Instagram and you scroll all the way back to the end of January, I had posted a post. It had like 10 slides that was my notes for the mullet class. And the first picture is James Dean. And I want to tell you why he's the first picture. The second picture is Elvis. Elvis with what is absolutely an interpretation of a mullet cut. And then we get into some legendary mullet wearers. I think we've got Rod Stewart is in there. Joe Dirt is in there. I want to say Billy Idol, but he's not in there. It's the other one who's in there. Ziggy Stardust. Whose name am I looking for? I can't think of his name. Dave Bowie. Bowie's in there. Bowie's got the mullet for sure. Okay? And these are examples of mullets through time. The reason I have the James Dean picture in there, and James Dean does not have a mullet in this picture, he has a pompadour. And the reason I put it in there is because the pompadour haircut is what led to the mullet that came in behind it. You look at James Dean, you see short back and sides, longer top popped up. Now you squint just a little bit, and it doesn't take a lot to imagine what happened if you grew the back out. You had yourself a mullet. Well, the next picture in that series is Elvis. And in Elvis's picture, Elvis had a pomp. But Elvis had a pomp with the back grown out. And I would argue the image that I shared in that Instagram is absolutely a mullet. It's Elvis with a mullet. And then from there, and that might have been a 50s era picture, boom, we slide into longer hair, and then by the time we get to 80s, it's morphed. And the Rod Stewart picture, and the Bowie picture, and the Joe Dirt picture are absolutely these mullet haircuts. So, 1, 2, and 3. That's your basic mullet construction. I got a brand new mannequin. I'm going to get a flip chart out for a moment here, and I want to show you the sectioning pattern we're going to use for the mullet, and then we're going to cut it. Okay, let me get my marker. I reached for this one. I know it's no good anymore. It was drying out last week, so fresh marker. Okay, with an ear. Here's your sectioning pattern. We're going to strike a horizontal parting at the parietal ridge or the crest line. We're going to strike a vertical parting at the top of the ear. We're going to label this area here zone 1. It's going to be the shortest aspect of the haircut. Now, we're going to take this parting straight up to the top of the head. We're going to take this parting straight back. And then at the attachment point at the top of the ear, we're going to take that parting straight back. That is going to be our sectioning diagram. Uncle Jesse from Full House. Somebody's having their own... Who is that? Tomorrow you're having your own personal little fantasy thing going on during class? I get it. All right, here we go. Number 1 is this section here. We're going to take that short. Number 2 is the section above from the top. We're going to show you how that blends, because the key to the classic mullet, the key to my generation's mullet, remember I'm a tail end boomer, is blending. Everything blends. The haircut blends up, the haircut blends back, the haircut blends down. Everything blends. The modern, and this is the difference between classic mullet and modern mullet. A classic mullet is fully blended. A modern mullet, all the modern interpretations, and if you look at the Instagram from Long Beach, boy, go flip back through my Insta, the last 2 pictures are modern interpretations. One of them is absolutely unblended, disconnected. The other one is not. The other one is more undercut in through here. It's still a mullet by modern standards, but it's disconnected. You got to remember, in the 80s when we were cutting these mullets, There was no disconnection. Disconnected haircuts just wasn't a thing. We never did it. And McKee and Lisa, it's all about the blend to get it right. You got to blend up. So we're going to go 1, we're going to go 2. Then we're going to jump to this section here. We will have isolated these 2 sections, clipped them off, clipped them out. So we're going to perfect the blend moving up. Then we're going to perfect the blend moving back. And then we're going to tie in these last 2 sections. 1, shortest. 2, a little longer. 3 is a blended progression. 4 and 5 are these last 2. This one's going to be 4, and this one's going to be 5. Step number 6 I'll put out here is detailing. Detailing will be everything from lining and edging, where we can and need to finessing and tuning the blend. There will be, potentially, a boatload of blending scissor work. Now, that's the section of pattern. We'll cut it into or carve it into our mannequin, and we'll get started with our haircut. Now, what I love about this haircut is this is a 5-tool haircut. And what I mean by that is we're going to use all of our tools to execute this. Does that generally mean haircuts are all based on the mullet? We have shorter size, longer top, and then depending longer back. Not necessarily. I'm not going to say everything's based off of a mullet, because there's many times we don't. And look at my haircut. I do not have longer hair in the back. The longest hair on my head is right along the front hairline where I pop up to maintain my flat top. And I would argue back and sides are shortest. Crown area here is 2, front edge is longer. I am absolutely the exact opposite of a mullet in terms of the current construction of my current haircut. So no, I would not say all haircuts can claim a basis on a mullet. Definitely not. All right. Want to get this guy wet in a shop? He definitely gets shampooed before we brought him out front. I want to brush through this. How we doing over in Facebook land? We got a nice crowd showing up in Facebook land. That's a good thing. Now, I am going to section this off. And I started talking about the fact that this is a 5-tool haircut. And I love these. I had a collection a few years back. It was called the Hiker Collection. And I shared these haircuts for a year through all my shows and events and things. It was haircutting that was inspired by getting outdoors. I'm a big outdoor hiker. I'm a big desert hiker when I can get into the Southwest and enjoy that part of the country. But from where I live in Chicago, that requires an airplane, and airplanes are something we don't do anymore. So much for that. But the Hiker Collection was inspired by getting out in the great outdoors. And one of the cool things about the Hiker Collection, especially back in the years when I was sharing it, was that I was getting into a lot of schools. And in getting into a lot of schools, there was a lot of interest in sharing all of the tools that we use. Scissor, clipper, trimmer, razor blender. And one of the cool things about this haircut, as I thought through my plan over the weekend to get you guys broken down and shared through this haircut, was that the cool thing about it was, and I'm going to cut one side and then we're going to cut the other. And by the way, you guys know, because we talked about it in previous classes, I like to cut with product in the hair. I have been using my Clipper Guy Light Wax, Clipper Guy Classic Light Hold Wax, as a cutting tool a lot lately. I really like the way this provides a little bit of moisture control. I really like the way this helps us get really good, clean sectioning. Sectioning is going to be very important for this haircut. Distribution, tension, and control. So that little bit of light wax is really an asset. I encourage you, go online, go to Clipper Guy, go to ivanzoot.com, get one of these waxes. Even if you're not big on styling with wax, get one of these waxes as a cutting tool, as a product that you put into hair when you cut. It's not bad for your clipper. It's not bad for your scissors. It's a water-based, it's a water-soluble wax. It rinses and shampoos out super clean and easy. But you'll notice when I go into sectioning, it's just that little bit, it's just gonna have, there's a lot of hair for that little bit of wax. But I don't want to overpower it. I'm not styling it. Top dead center, part it off. Now I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to take that vertical parting, top to bottom, at the top of the ear. That's it right there. Temporarily, use a gripper just to section that out of the way. Now these are sections 1 and 2. Horizontal parting at the parietal ridge. Now notice my partings. My partings are neat. My partings are clean. My partings are very distinct. I just want to line that up just a little better. All the way down to the scalp. That is now section 1. This right here is now section 2. 1, 2. What I have here is 3, 4, 5. I'm going to continue to split those. Remember, from this point, 3 is here. It's this top section. 3 is here. Again, good clean partings all the way down. I'm sorry, 4 is that one up on top, not 4, not 3. Now, this is the key here. I'm going to take a horizontal parting right here. This splits 3 and 5. Everything below this parting is 5. Keep that on that side of the head. This middle section here is 3. 3 is a really fun section for this haircut, and you'll see why in just a little bit. Okay? And then everything down here belongs in 5. So that's my sectioning pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Each section is going to be cut with a different tool in a slightly different way in order to give us the look that we're after. Is everybody ready to cut? Throw me a thumb if you're ready to cut. Scott says yes. Everybody's in. All right. Now, section number 1 is our short section. You will not always have 9 inches of hair to take off in this section. It's probably going to be a lot shorter. So let's initially just get rid of the bulk on that. Quick snip. Now, this area is going to be clippered up short. I want this with a 4 guard. So I'd either put a guard on my clipper, or I'll put a guard on my comb. In my case, I'm going to put my 4 guard, that's my zoot comb, with a 4 guard on it. I'm going to come into the corner here, and I'm going to cut this off. I'm going to cut this short. Now, what you want to be aware of is what I am doing in section number 1. What is happening in section number 1? Make no mistake of my purposes in section, and look how I use the long tooth on my zoot comb to grab that hair. What's happening in section number 1 is I am establishing or creating my guide. The top edge of 1 and the back edge of 1 are my guide for blending to the back and blending to the top. So I used a 4 on that. Now I'm going to take my 4 off and I'm going to go to a 2. I'm going to go to a 2. This is skip guard. It's the same way I would do this if I was doing this with snap-on guards on my clipper. I bring that in, I roll it out, I bring it in, I roll it out, I work around the ear. I'm creating a nice, tight, tapered corner. I'm going to freehand in that bottom edge just a little. That is clipper work. I switch the ends of my comb. I'm going to go to my trimmer. I'm going to go to my trimmer work. All right? I'm just detailing up this corner a little bit. Nice clean ear arc around and down. When you look at that from the front, it's got a taper to it. It's longest here and longest at the back edge. That is section number 1. In section number 1, I've established my zone 1, my shortest part of the haircut. Taylor, I've never seen a comb guard before. LOL. Welcome to the game. That's your zoot comb. Your zoot comb cutting system. It's your multi-purpose comb, your Swiss Army knife comb. The comb's a 1, 2, 3, 4, and the guards snap onto the comb. Taylor, ivanzoot.com. Got to get a zoot comb. Everybody's got to have one of these. Okay. Section number 1 is cut. Section number 2. Section number 2 is at the top of the head. It's the vertical parting from the back corner, the upper back corner of section number 1 up to top dead center. Now, I want to blend everything in this section into here, into our top guide here, which is a 1/2 inch, which is a number 4. Where do you see sideburns going? Longer or shorter or pointed? Sideburns really are a wide open category because there's no rules associated with sideburns. It's what looks good for the package. What's happening in the haircut? What's happening facial shape and bone structure? Lisa, great question. Let's talk about that in Q&A later because I've got some ideas for that I think are worth sharing. So I'm going to pull out my clip and I've got my section number 2. Section number 2 must be blended into section number 1. Now, one of the things I'm going to suggest is part out the front hairline, the fringe, comb the fringe down, and isolate it. I do not want to include the fringe in this cutting because I want to have the flexibility of being able to blend that in later one way or the other based on what I'm doing with my haircut. So now I'm going to go to scissor cutting. We started with clipper cutting in that zone 1. Now I'm going to take horizontal sections. In zone 2, I parted out the front hairline to disregard it for the time being. I'm taking sections parallel to the top edge of area number 1, and I'm going to cut them to blend. I'm going to bring them down. I'm going to comb them with the finer comb for tension and distribution. I'm going to look for the shorter hair at the top of that zone, and I'm going to blend it in. Everybody see what I did there? I combed it down, and I blended it in to the top of my 4. Now I'm going to take another parallel section. I'm going to grab section number 2. I'm going to take a horizontal parting. I'm going to bring it down, and I'm going to just stationary guide. The top edge of panel number 1, of section number 1, is my guide. It remains in one place. I use my fine teeth for tension, distribution, and control for scissor cutting. I peek up underneath it, I look for my guide, and I cut to match. This is a Cosmo Barberology scissors. I have these scissors custom made for me. This one is a beautiful, beautiful 6.5 adjustable tension screw, fixed finger rest, slight twist in the handle, and slight offset. Really a very comfortable, very versatile, all-around general cutting scissors. It is small enough at 6.5 that it still can be used for what we call shape crafting, which is what we're doing here, yet it is long enough that it is still legitimate for some overcomb work. So it's a really, really versatile and really, really flexible scissors. I'm going to continue working my way through panel number 2. And I'm going to do this a little more rapidly now because I think you got the idea. Every section comes into panel number 1, comes down to the top end. Don't go past the top of 1. Stay at the top of 1. Bring it up. Look for the guide. Now the guide is starting to get a big. The guide is starting to get bulky. The guide is starting to get dense, so the guide is easier to see. When the guide is larger and easier to see, I can take more hair. So now, in the interest or the spirit of condensed cutting, I'm going to talk more about condensed cutting in sections 4 and 5. I can take all of the last of section number 2. I can comb it smoothly. I can distribute it evenly. I can take it all because I can see my guide, okay? And I can take it all and I can cut it. I can take it all. I can bring it all down. Notice my fingers are still right up against the head. I've cut all of section number 2, brought down to the top edge of section number 1. And I have a beautiful progressive blend. Length increases opposite the cutting point, so what does that mean? That means when I go the other way on this to cross-check, look at the length difference. It stayed longest at top center because it all came down. So what do I got now? Ignore the front fringe. Number 1 is tapered tight. Number 2 blends up into it, staying longest at the top. This haircut kind of comes in to a peak like that. The guide is projected out at 90 degrees, Michael, from the top of section 4. Yes, it just comes, well, it's not really 90 because the head's beginning to curve, but right before the curve, it's just coming straight out towards me. If that you're still on the flat of the head, yes, it would be 90, but as the head begins to round away, it might be a little under 90. All right, good question. I have now cut section 1 and section 2. It is now time to cut section 3. Now, section 3 is the guide, is the back edge of section 1. The back edge of section 1. I want to bring my chart back in here because I want you to see this. This parting here was the guide for 2. Everything was brought down here. For section 3, we're going to work vertically, and every section will be brought back to the vertical guide. So that not only does this blend up, but it's going to blend back. This is the key to cutting the mullet. This is the bottom line strategy for cutting the mullet. So I'm not going to touch 4 and 5. I'm only going to be releasing section 3. Section 3 is a rectangle that goes all the way to the center back of the head from the back of panel 1, from the back edge of 1. I'm going to dampen it. I'm going to comb it. I'm going to subdivide it into a series of vertical sections. Watch what I do. I take a vertical parting, put 3 over there, 2's out of the way. I'm going to take this, I'm going to comb this, I'm going to hold this, and I'm going to shift it forward to the back edge of panel number 1. That back edge of panel number 1, you can't see where I pointed on the map right there. The back edge of panel number 1 is the stationary guide for all of panel 3. Throw me your thumb if this is making sense. We're going to go underhand, palm to palm. I'm going to comb. I'm going to hold. I'm going to bring my fingers in really close, and I'm going to look for the back edge, that short hair, right at the top of the ear, at the back of section 1, at the beginning of 3, and I brought that hair forward. Now I'm going to do it again. Well, what does this mean? This means that every section that I take vertically and that I bring forward is going to get longer. That's right. It's a length increase, and it's a beautiful blend. Here we go. Vertical palm to palm. You can see how that section is distorted forward. And now I'm going to take a third section before we peek at it to see how that's working. Little sections of hair. There it is. Notice combing from the scalp, smooth, tension and distribution, and control. Shifting forward to the back edge of panel number 1 to cut that. You see that hair dragged? Is it drug? Is it dragged or drug? I'm drugging the hair forward. All right? Now, look what happens here. Look at the difference between the edge and the edge. I am no more than about 1.25 inches back, and that hair is almost 2 inches long. It was a 1/2 inch right here. It's folding back. We're getting like a DA effect, but we're getting that length progression into that longer back. And I'm going to continue to take, continue to comb, continue to take vertical sections, blending to this spot immediately behind the ear. Now, I've gotten to the point where my guide is thick and heavy and bulky. I've got a lot of hair making it to the guide. The further hair travels, the longer it becomes. Michael, bingo, exactly. Thank you. Totally agree. And that's what we call principle-based hair cutting. The principle is, as Michael said, length increases opposite the cutting point. Real simple. Length increases opposite the cutting point. And the cool thing about principle-based hair cutting is, as long as you cut hair, principles will never change. It will always be that way. Hair will always behave according to principle-based hair cutting. So you can get as creative as you want. You can change and adapt and modify and incorporate trend anytime you want. But the reality is the principles, which is the math and the geometry of how hair behaves. Notice now I'm taking all of the hair in the remainder of section 3, that horizontal section, combing from the scalp for tension, distribution, and control, bringing it all into the back of panel number 1, cutting all of it at once. And look, that hair at the center back of the head like that, look how long that piece of hair is. That's probably 4.5. But in this horizontal section, in this rectangle, we move from short to long as we move back through the head. Throw me your thumb if you're with me on sections 1, 2, and 3. 1 is short, 2 blends up, 3 blends back. What we have left are 4 and 5. Now, 4 and 5 are pretty cool. 4 and 5 are really kind of interesting, I think, because here's what we're going to do. 4 is this triangular section at the top. We're going to take all of the hair in 4. We're going to make sure it's damp so that we can get good tension, distribution, and control. And we are going to bring all of the hair in section 4 to this point right here, to the intersection between the horizontal and vertical, right there at the corner. Because in 4, in the crown, it's a triangular shaped section in the crown. I want all of this hair to blend with all of this hair. I want it to blend up and back. So what I'm going to do is I'm essentially going to take all of the hair in section 4, all of it, and I'm going to ponytail it right there. I'm going to make a tiny little ponytail. This is truly, Mike, from Daytona State, truly about helping your students, helping hair cutters understand the power of shifted distribution, the principle of moving hair to a common point. And when you move all that hair, when all of that hair moves to this point, I'm going to take it, I'm going to hold it really tight in a bunch right there, and then I'm going to take my cutting razor and I'm just going to razor it off, all of it at once. I'm not going to subsection this, I'm not going to break it down, I'm not going to cut it down. I'm going to take all of this hair to that point, I'm going to hold it together and I'm going to razor through it. Now, that's my feather hairstyling razor, that's got a standard blade, but I want to see you guys to see what I'm going to use. That's a standard blade, and this is the R-type or the rapid cutting blade. You'll notice on the R-type blade, the teeth in the guard are much wider. It gives a very natural cutting feel. It almost feels as though you're not cutting with a guard. Now, I have 3 feather handles. Notice my 3 feather handles. I have my black handle, has my standard blade. I have my red handle, has my texturizing blade. And I have my yellow handle, the shorty handle, has my rapid blade. So I'm going to use my rapid blade for this because I want to do it in one cut, and the extra blade exposure makes it cut very quick and smooth. So here's my section. Now, I'm grasping my section. It's that triangle section at the top of the head. Okay? Forget about 5 down here. We're in 4 right up here. And I'm going to wet this a little bit. It's got a little bit of wax in it from before for distribution and control. That Clipper Guy wax is a really great lightweight cutting aid. And you see how this comes to a corner right here? That's my guide. That corner, that intersection between horizontal and vertical. I am going to take this and I'm going to comb it from the scalp. From the scalp. The hair here is traveling all the way. The hair at the top is traveling all the way. That is what we did. The hair at the top is doing what we did in 2, and the hair at the back is doing what we did in 3. Does everybody see that? Give me a thumb if you got it. I want to make sure you understand what I hope to do here. I'm going to stay really low. I want to stay really low because my guide is this little piece of hair under here at the corner where the vertical and horizontal lines meet. I'm going to use my fine teeth on my comb, and I'm going to comb from the scalp. The top hair I'm combing down, and I'm not worried about that because I'm going to blend to it. And the side hair, I'm combing to the side. And look, I'm holding this, I'm pinching this. I'm holding this, I'm pinching this. Focused on distribution. Is everybody ready for the cut? Is everybody ready for the cut? Tell me you're ready for the cut. Yup. All right, I'm getting all these yups and readies. All right, I'm holding it really together right there at that top corner. And I'm going to come in with my R-type blade. A very small portion of the blade. I don't want to cut a hole underneath it. I just want to cut the hair I'm holding. And I'll re-grip if I need to. And that's it. That's it right there. Toss it away. So now what happened was all the top hair now blends. In that crown area, everything blends to the corner so that when this is all pushed back, check it out. Look, they're shorter and longer and longer and longer and longer. The longest hair in that section 4 is the hair all the way over here because it traveled the farthest to get there. Really, all across that parting, it all traveled the exact same length. It's longest along this edge. It's all the same. Shortest here. Imagine that's a triangle that moves up and back. Now, we segregated or left our front fringe out. We have one thing left to do. We have to cut section 5. This is section 5. Does anybody want to guess? Can anybody tell me how am I going to cut section 5? What am I going to do to cut section 5 to finish this up? Can anybody know? Does anybody guess? Anybody want to say? Anybody want to tell me? How and where am I going to cut the last cut that is section 5? Anybody know? Looking to see. Haven't heard from anybody yet. Up to the bottom of 3, Lisa, that's exactly right. We're going to take 5 to the inside corner. It's actually what would be the bottom front corner of 3 or the lower back corner of 1. Remember we cut 4 at that intersection? Those are our 2 intersections, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. I am going to now take 5. Just like I brought all of 4 into this point, all of 5 comes up and into this point. Think about it. All the hair here is going to travel over, being longer in the middle and the back, just like up here. And all of the hair at the bottom here is going to travel up and over to 5 to that corner. So it's going to behind the ear, Kathleen. That's another way of saying it. You are exactly right. So I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm now going to grab 5. And again, combing up from below, combing from underneath, focused on distribution and control, going to the short side, the tight side, the little side of my comb. I'm going to pony this, pony this, pony this. And you got to be careful here because a mannequin is not a human. When I cut up from above, I don't want to pull the mannequin off the stand here. I'd get a little more resistance, a little more cooperation. Look at the distribution on this. Can you see all that hair distributing all the way back to this corner? That's what we're after. That's what we're looking for. We're going to come up underneath here, bringing all of 5 to the bottom of 3, to the back of 1, everybody see that? Now, what has happened there? The bottom stayed long. It got progressively shorter, It blended up and in. Now, we need to double check to tie 5 into 3 and 4 into 3 and 2 into 4. We need to double check all that. But look at this, guys. We stayed long in the back, classic mullet, longest here, shorter here, shortest here. We kept up our principles. Now, the couple things we need to do. Obviously, it goes without saying, but I'll say it anyways. Repeat on the opposite side. You would do the exact same haircut on the other side of the head. I will not do that right now. I'll do that between 10 and 11 in the break. So when we come back at 11 o'clock for referrals, you'll see the whole finished haircut. But we left out this front fringe. That gives us some styling options or versatility. Now, one of the things I will do, and I just want to show you option-wise what I would do with it. There's my top. There's my top. Now, let's do this. Let's take a look at this front fringe. I would probably, I've done this before, I want this to blend, but I want that front to be a little longer. So I could take this and shift it back, over directing it, just like we did at these two corners. I can do this at the upper corner here, holding it low and blending it off. That's going to give me that long front. Think flock of seagulls kind of behavior, okay? But it still blends up into the top and back and through. Now, there is, as we had discussed, some tweaking to be done. There's a little bit of a jump here as a byproduct of some of my distribution. I will point cut just to help that blend a little bit. But I will go back and check through my zone between 3 and 5. I'll comb this up and I'll look for that angle, and I will finesse or point cut just to make sure that those two zones come together nice. Little bit of detailing work. And I will also do the same thing at the top where I blend. Oh, that came out nice. That's where I'm blending 2 and 4. Again, some point cutting because there's a lot of movement, a lot of texture. Let's review. We clipper cut. Clipper with guards or clipper with guards. We use the guards snapping on to our zoot comb to tidy that up and tailor that in nicely. Again, if we need a little bit of fine tuning of the blend, we certainly have the ability to come in over comb and tweak that just a little bit. But we've got that pompadour-able top. We can get some height on that. We've got that beautiful blend up and back, up and back. There's no demarcation there as that clippered area blends off and in. We've maintained the length. Now, when I am done doing the exact same thing on the opposite side, I have the choice of coming in. See how we've got through the top here? I hope the camera can see this. When I look at the top, see that length progression? This is really pointy at the top. This comes together at the top. I can saw off some of that point if I would like that to be a little more. I could even flat top the top. That's where we go Billy Ray. We're not going there, but we could. That's where we go Billy Ray, would be to flat top out that top a bit. But this is coming together real nice at the back. We just have to finish the other side down and into it. Questions, Q&A time, mullet cutting. You saw the full breakdown there. I will cut the other side at the break so that you can see the finished haircut. And by the way, guys, the one that we had before was in fact the finished version of this. Who's got questions about what we did and how we did it? How we broke out our zones. Clipper, clipper, blend, 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 blend. Right there was the blending zone for all of it. And that's the magic of a classic mullet cut. Questions? Anybody? What do you got? Hit me now. Nobody. Thank you for showing the classic mullet when done properly. Was really one of the best cuts. Oh man, they're just so fun to cut. We still cut plenty of them. There's plenty of people out there with them. And the zone, the blending zone, is the key to all of it. And you need your tools. Clipper, trimmer, scissor, razor, blender. All necessary. It's a 5-tool haircut, like in baseball. You want to be a 5-tool player. You got to have the chops and the skills in every situation to be able to dig deep into your toolbox and make it work. I know this is not a question, but my cousin boyfriend will be happy because he's been wanting one done and asked me a while back, and I told him I didn't know I have to do it. Well, Lizzie, now you're ready. Now, Lizzie, that's a great comment. Lizzie, lock and load, Lizzie. You got what you need to know, and you can go pull this off for your, was it your cousin's boyfriend? Your cousin's boyfriend. He's going to be looking sharp. Or retro, depending on how you go about that. Question was, what if you are not comfortable with the razor part? Lisa, get comfortable with the razor part. Get a mannequin, get your cousin, get your cousin's boyfriend like Lizzie's going to do. You just got to get, the razor part is so easy. Did you guys see that? And by the way, Lisa, 9 o'clock on Thursdays, razor cutting. 9 o'clock on Thursday. Section 4 is over top and Section 5 is under top. Section 4 and Section, this is 4 and this is 5. They're on opposite sides of 3. So 4 is blended into this point, 5 is blended into that point. So all of 4 blends to 2 and to 3. All of 5 blends to 3 and 3 blends to 1 at this corner where it all comes together. So it's cut, 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 cut. All gathering together, living in this short little room right there. You'll be there. I know you'll be there. All right, guys, full schedule for the whole week. This puts first class number 1 in the books. We will be back at 11 for referrals, and we'll be back all week right here. If you got no further questions, we'll finish it up. If anybody has any other questions, I am still here for another, couple of minutes. If you got them, you want to ask them. Fire when ready. I am ready. Talk to me. I probably want to be there for 11 because I have an exam about to take. Good luck with your exam. Watch the 11 on replay, guys. If you can't be here. If you're not going to be here, send a friend. Your friend will be happy to be here. All right, guys. Thank you much. Have a wonderful morning. Enjoy the rest of your morning. We will see you at 11 o'clock. Over and out. Bye-bye. Appreciate y'all. Bring your friends. See you later.